Hi BookTube, this is Kelly. Thank you so much for watching my channel, Books I'm Not Reading. Today I'm going to be doing a tag, and this is the second, let me make sure I get it right, second tome around tag, and it was created by The Hungry Bookworm. I will link to her video down below, and I was tagged by Roz from Scally Dancing About the Books. Roz, I hope I have your channel right. So anyway, it's gonna be an interesting tag, and if you're new to my channel, you'll learn a lot about me just from, or at least what's going on in my life at the moment right now. So question number one, do you buy secondhand books? And every other year I would say yes. This year I am trying to focus really hard on reading the books that are in our own my husband and I, our own personal library. So both of us are really trying to invest energy in reading the things that we already have, because we have a ton of great books, and they don't fit on all the bookshelves that we have, which is a lot. So, but yes, I love looking at secondhand bookstores, and you're always the excitement of finding like a treasure or something that you've wanted for a really long time but that's out of print, or those kinds of things. So what was your latest purchase? I have absolutely no idea, because we did buy some books at the very end of the year, but I think they were all new. We do have a used bookstore here. It's not that great. And when Lukash from Totally Pretentious visited us about a year ago, he completely cleaned out the classics section. So there's the pickings are, and it's also, it seems pricey to me for a secondhand bookstore, but what can you do? Let's see. What condition do you find acceptable? Tatty, not tatty, etc. So I would say not tatty. Like, I don't mind if it's like a little tiny paperback, like this one. I mean, it's used, but I don't know. I guess it depends on how much I think I'm gonna love it. So I prefer them to look. I prefer them to look generally like new, good condition, those kinds of things. So question number 4. After you have read said book, do you keep it or reread? Do you keep it for a reread, excuse me, or re-donated it? Well, that depends on how I feel about the book. If I love the book, then no, I'm not giving it away. But in general, I'm more willing to part with things and find them a good home. Some books I really feel like I just need to read once. Let's see. Question number 5. Do you have a favorite place you like to go when looking for secondhand books? Oh my goodness. So again, the used bookstore here is really not anything special. Although I was watching over this long weekend, I watched Steve Donahue do a haul from Vermont, and he said he was trying to buy up the Michener books that have like the round circle on them. And he was having a hard time. Apparently the only thing he couldn't find out there. He was having a hard time finding them, and I just was laughing out loud, because I'm sure our used bookstore has a ton of them. That is very much the kind of thing that would happen in a used bookstore in Wyoming. So, but if you're familiar with Supposedly Fun, Greg, he lives just outside of Missoula, which Jason and I lived there for 4.5 years. And there is there's a bunch of bookstores there. So stupid. And they're awesome. They're just fantastic. And there's several used bookstores. One of them is called the Book Exchange. And that's actually where I got, my first, the first part in the series of Betsy Tacy, which I spent a whole year last year reading with some of you. But yeah, you can even see on the back there maybe you can't because I'm holding my coffee. But yeah, so the Book Exchange, at least when we lived there, now that things may have changed, but when we lived there, you could say, hey, I'm looking for such and such. And they would somehow keep track of it. I have no idea. But then they would call you if it came in. So it was really nice. It was really handy. Number 6, hardback or paperback. Do you have a preference? For me personally, paperback. I read a lot before I go to sleep. Well, I don't read a lot, but I do read before I go to sleep at night. So paperback, because otherwise, like, a hardcover knocked me out. Anyway, question number 7. Have you found any real gems? Yes, I have. So there were the Betsy Tacy books, because Jason bought me the ones that didn't start until Betsy and Tacy were, I think, in high school. And so I was like, well, I have to read the books when they were younger. And then eventually we did get the PS edition that had the first 4 books, the first 4 of these in one collection. But I still really love these, although I should take the tabs out of them. But yeah, so that was a great find. I've got a couple more. So this I found in Cheyenne at a used bookstore. Well, it was kind of like a flea market, and then there's like different vendors, people selling things. Jason's favorite used bookstore in Cheyenne had to kind of consolidate or close or whatever, and so he had like his own little area, and so we were looking through books there, and this is Jack Maggs by Peter Carey. Peter Carey is one of Jason's favorite authors, and I happened to find this copy and was thumbing through the front of it, and it's signed. So if you're not familiar with Peter Carey, he's originally from Australia. He lives, I believe, in the States now, but the idea of finding a signed copy of anything by him in Cheyenne, Wyoming, it's pretty amazing. Jason has a great story about a find, and I'll let him share that on it when he does his tag eventually. And then I just wanted to show you. Okay, so this is like, usually I would not keep a book that's this beat up, but this is The Late George Apley by John Marquand, and it has been since reprinted in a much nicer edition, but I am kind of sentimental about this copy. I bought this again in a used bookstore in Missoula. So The Late George Apley is a Pulitzer winner, and I spent a little over 2 years reading all the books that have won the Pulitzer Prize for fiction. So this was one of the first books I got for that project, and I just loved it and stayed up late reading it one night. And so I'm just, like I said, I'm a little bit sentimental about this, because I think this was the first Pulitzer that I read that I was very intentional, like, this is part of my project, this is why I'm reading this book. But it's a great book. It has since been reprinted in a much, much nicer edition. So if you're interested in this book at all, this is definitely worth checking out. Number 8, find a book from your bookshelf so you can donate to a good cause or your local charity, Goodwill shops, etc. So I am planning on getting rid of this. Sometimes I shop my parents' bookshelves. My mom was like, "Oh, you should read this, Kelly," and it's a silly story about a cat. It's it's a little overhyped to me, I guess. But one of the nice things is that when my mom does say, oh yeah, go ahead and take this book. Usually after I read it, I can call her and say, hey, I read the book. It was fun, which maybe overrating this. But yeah, so I can usually say, do you want the book back, or would you like me to find a good home for it? And usually she's, oh yeah, like give it to so-and-so or blah, blah, blah. And just around the corner from us is a little free library. So I think I'm going to take this up there, and if I can get some assistance, I will film that. And so we'll watch that now. Okay, so this is my copy of The Fur Person. My mom lent it to me. Definitely don't need to hold on to this one, so I'm just going to donate it to a little free library that is near our house. So come on. I see some things in here that we have donated, and so maybe not a lot of turnaround. What's the what? That's kind of cool. We're already on that, but anyway, so we'll add The Fur Person. I always like to tidy little free libraries as well. So, all right, all done. Thank you. But yeah, if you want to do this tag, it's a lot of fun. It's a little bit, like I said, it's a little bit strange to talk about used bookstores in a year where you're not buying any books at all. So so it makes me a little nostalgic, and I want to go at least browse, but I'm not going to. So, all right. You guys have a great day. Remember to be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and I will talk to you soon, BookTube.